give a short introduction of yourself.
I am the president and founder of the Boulder BI Brain Trust, which is a consortium of independent analysts and consultants. We are now over 180 strong in 19 different countries. I'm also the president of Intelligent Solutions, which is my consulting company and analyst firm.
Your first session of this event discusses the advantages of collaborative BI. Can you explain what added value this can have for BI applications?
Well, you know, I think I start off with two heads are better than one, and I think that's always true. If you're looking at something in isolation, you may miss something. The ability to collaborate while you're doing business intelligence is so much better. And I look at collaborative BI as three different areas. The first one is the ability to interact with the information, to share it with someone else, discover it, be able to discuss it with someone else. The second part is the ability to enhance the information. And by that, we're actually able now to add comments, if you will, ratings to certain things. We're now at the point where we can bring in links to further information, bring in the business context, not just the content of the information itself. And then the third one is the ability to decide. After all, the ultimate goal of analytics is to make a decision. But I think what's interesting here in the collaborative space is we're now able to track the decisions, not as a stick, not to punish someone for making a bad decision, but actually more as a carrot to understand, well, why did you make the decision that you made? What was it based on? What information? And if the decision was not quite right, then we need to go back and look at the analytics that went into that decision to determine how do we make it better? Was the model wrong? Was the behavioral analysis off point or something? So that's where the carrot comes in. It's to make better decisions, not to punish someone for making a poor decision.
How can organizations with existing BI applications benefit from this?
Well, the good news is if they have an existing BI environment, they're far more likely to have an easier time of implementing the collaborative BI side of the house. So that's the first thing that's really good. If you're familiar with BI to begin with, then adding collaboration is a bit easier for companies like that. But the real benefit comes from the ability to make faster and better decisions. Again, two heads are always better than one. So faster and better decisions. It's also the ability to share that information across the organization. It's no longer locked up inside of a group or someone's head or something like that, but they can actually share their information across the enterprise. The employee also gets a better satisfaction. It's almost as if their voice is being heard a little bit better in a collaborative environment. They have their opinions, they have their thoughts, and they want the company to benefit from those opinions and thoughts. Another one is the ability to have the audit trails for the decisions that were made. As I mentioned, not as a stick, but as a carrot. They can actually audit the decisions that are being made and make the models better and so forth, the analytics better that they're actually using. Now, I think part of the problem, though, is how do we get started with this? And I think part of it is a cultural shift in the organization. If the company is not very collaborative to begin with, it's going to be difficult to bring that capability into the organization. So education, training, all of those things need to be brought in to make them understand that collaboration is something that they should be doing. And then the second thing, if it is a cultural shift, then it means that the executives have to be behind it. They have to be collaborative. They have to understand that collaborative capabilities are what they really do need to make their company move forward. The last thing that I would mention is to start small, as always. It's something that's new, it's something that's different, so let's start with a small project, let's bring the collaborative capabilities in, and then if it works, and I'm sure it will, then let's start a PR program behind this to get people to understand that we can now share our information without punishment. We can make our decisions in a collaborative fashion, and we can learn from the experience and expand upon that.
Okay. In your second session, you elaborate on the still low adoption rate of BI and analytics within enterprises. Why do you think that these adoption rates are still that low?
Well, There are a number of reasons. I think that business intelligence technologies, by and large, are still very complex to use. I think we in the business have done a very good job of making these tools easy to use. Drop-down menus, point and click, it's very easy to use, but the results that these tools produce are not always easy to consume for the business community member. Some are very sophisticated graphics. It's very difficult in some ways to understand some of the visualizations. If we don't have a collaborative environment where we can add our expertise, our explanations about why something is happening, then it makes it very difficult for the person to look at an analytic result and immediately understand it. So I think that we still have a ways to go in terms of something that is easy to consume as opposed to just easy to use. Skill sets. We still are desperately lacking a number of skill sets in our organizations. The 20% that do adopt BI tend to be analytically savvy, they tend to be technologically savvy, they tend to be able to engineer the data themselves, to twist it and turn it to what they need. Now that's not a skill that we find throughout the organization. So I think we still have a ways to go in terms of the lack of skills that are in our organizations. Easy to consume, lack of skills, those two things pretty much keep the percentages down.
Okay, and what are the steps to improve the adoption rate? How should you approach this within an organization?
Yeah, well, my first thing, I'm an academician at heart. I study things quite a bit, and I think one of the biggest problems that we have in most organizations today is that most employees have never been taught to think critically, to think analytically. And I think that is a huge problem in trying to get analytics into an organization. What is this analytic telling me? Why do I care about it? How is it going to help me with my job? And what questions do I ask after seeing the results of an analysis? Those are the kinds of things that are prohibiting us from moving into this more analytically driven world. What we've done in BI is focus on a very simple analytic, descriptive analytics. Here's what happened. Here's what happened in the past. And we compare past things, week over week, month over month, year over year. Descriptive analytics are good up to a point. They do exactly what they say. They describe what has happened or what is happening. But in order to really get the value from our analytics, we must go beyond that. We have to get into the upper level, if you will, or advanced analytics, whatever term people want to put on them. The next logical question to ask after you've seen what happened is to ask why. Why is the trend going up or down or whatever it is? Why is this happening? So diagnostic analytics, the next step is something that is so critically important. Then to ask the next logical question, okay, I understand why it's happening. Is it going to continue? We get into predictive analytics at this point. Is it going to continue on down this path? And if it's a good path, okay. If it's a bad path, the next logical question should be, what am I going to do about it, right? Prescriptive analytics. So we get into the ability to prescribe or optimize what our actions should be. If I want this trend to continue, what do I have to do to make sure that it does continue? If it's a bad trend, what are the things that I have to do to change that trend, to move it in a different trajectory? So I think we really need to understand that there are other analytics that are needed in this world other than just descriptive analytics. So let's give some value behind it. Again, reduction of the barriers to adoption, simplifying the environment, making it more consumer-friendly as opposed to just easy to use, things that we've already talked about, and also being able to track the actions and be able to analyze those decisions that we made. I think those are all the things that will set the course to the future.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this interview.
Thank you. It was fun.